because he's going to do something that everybody loves to do. That's the dunk. And the dunk is something that inspires everybody. And it certainly inspires me when I'm playing against him.
Not Magic, not Bird, not Isiah. The guy Jordan himself said made him rise to the occasion wore a Hawks jersey.
Dominique on the drive.
Dominique Wilkins didn't just play against Michael Jordan. He pulled something out of him that almost nobody else could. Every time they shared a court, it stopped being a basketball game. It became a performance, two men daring each other to top the last highlight. So what was it about Dominique Wilkins that got inside Jordan's head like that, and why, decades later, are people still arguing about the night it all came to a head? Before there was Michael Jordan, the global brand, the logo, the greatest of all time, there was a kid from North Carolina still finding his way into the league. And Dominique Wilkins was already one of the most electric players on the planet. They called him the human highlight film for a reason. Wilkins attacked the rim like it owed him something. Full speed, two hands, no hesitation. Jordan was a different kind of dangerous. He floated. He hung in the air a beat longer than physics seemed to allow. He made a dunk look less like a finish and more like something he was inventing on the way up. Two completely different styles. One identical instinct. Neither of them could stand being shown up. That's what made a Bulls-Hawks game dangerous for the other team and for the highlight reels. Because if Dominique threw one down, Jordan was going to answer. But before any of that played out in a real NBA game, the two of them had to meet somewhere else first. And the first time they did, Jordan didn't win. February 1985, Indianapolis. Michael Jordan was a rookie. But everyone in that building already sensed something different was happening every time he touched the ball. The slam dunk contest was about to prove it and put him face to face with Dominique Wilkins for the first time. Jordan brought creativity and hang time. Wilkins brought pure violence to the rim, and it came down to the two of them in the final round. Wilkins closed it out with back-to-back perfect scores from every judge. Final tally, 147 for Dominique, 136 for Jordan. The human highlight film had beaten the kid who'd become the greatest player in the sport's history, and Jordan didn't forget it. Because the most famous image of this entire rivalry is still 3 years away. But without this loss in Indianapolis, there's no rematch to build to. While fans waited for the sequel, something else started happening. The dunk contest didn't stay in All-Star Weekend. It followed both of them into the regular season. This is where the rivalry became something more than a dunk contest. No judges, no scorecards, just two guys refusing to let the other have the last word. And on December 10th, 1986, it turned into one of the great individual duels of the decade. Atlanta jumped on Chicago from the opening tip. Wilkins was unconscious, 16 points in the first quarter, 14 more in the second. By the final buzzer, he tied his own career high, 57 points. Jordan scored 41. On almost any other night in NBA history, that's the headline, not this one. Atlanta won 123-95. It went down in Chicago and Atlanta both as the shootout, and it told you everything about what these two did to each other every time they stepped on the floor. But if you know Michael Jordan even a little, you know a night like that doesn't just get forgotten, it gets answered. 4 months later, Jordan got his chance to even the score. He put on one of the most ferocious scoring performances of his career, 61 points, against the same Hawks defense that had watched Wilkins torch Chicago for 57. And Atlanta still won, 117-114 in Jordan's own building. Jordan could outscore him. He could outdunk him on a given night, but Wilkins kept finding a way to have the final answer. That's not a rivalry built on hatred. That's a rivalry built on two players who simply would not let each other win the last word. And in 1988, they were about to get one more shot at settling it on the stage where it all started. Only this time, it wasn't a neutral floor. It was Michael Jordan's building. 3 years since Indianapolis. Jordan wasn't the exciting rookie anymore. He was one of the biggest stars the league had ever produced, and the reigning dunk contest champion. Wilkins wasn't just a dunker anymore either. He was one of the NBA's premier scorers, a 9-time All-Star in the making. Injuries had kept them apart in 1986 and 87. Now finally, the rematch was happening. And it was happening in front of over 18,000 fans who came to see Michael Jordan defend his home floor. Chicago Stadium wasn't there for a dunk contest. It was there for a fight. By the final round, both men were still standing. Two of the league's best forces of nature trading blows dunk for dunk. Round 1, perfect score for Wilkins, perfect score for Jordan. Round 2, Wilkins does it again. Another 50. Jordan comes back with a cradle dunk from the baseline. The judges give him a 47. Suddenly, Wilkins has a real cushion heading into the final dunk. Wilkins goes up, 2 hands, full windmill. The kind of power dunk that had earned him perfect scores all night. And then the judges hold up the card. 45, not 50, not even close to what the dunk looked like it deserved. Jordan himself would say it years later. He was shocked. He thought Wilkins had earned a 49, maybe a perfect 50, but the number on the board was 45, and that gave Michael Jordan an opening he probably shouldn't have had. He needed somewhere around 49 points to take the title back. He walked to the far end of the floor. Everyone in the building knew exactly what was coming. From just inside the free throw line, Michael Jordan took flight. The judges' cards go up. 50. Final score, Jordan 147, Wilkins 145. 2 points. Chicago Stadium came apart, and one of the most famous images in basketball history was born in Michael Jordan's building on Michael Jordan's terms. But almost immediately, there was a problem. Because Dominique Wilkins believed the story should have ended differently. Watch it again. This is the dunk that scored a 45. For decades, Wilkins and plenty of people who were in that building have made the same argument. The dunk looked every bit as powerful as the 2 perfect scores that came before it. And then there was the location. Chicago. Jordan's crowd. Jordan's home floor. Jordan himself admitted as much afterward that if the contest had been anywhere else, it might have gone the other way. For anyone who believes Wilkins got robbed, that's not a small detail. That's the whole case. But there's another side to it. Jordan's dunk became iconic because of what it demanded: the distance of the run-up, the hang time, the exact body control needed to finish from that far out, under that much pressure, needing a near-perfect score just to survive. And here's what makes Wilkins' side of the story land harder than any grudge ever could. He didn't spend the next 30 years bitter about it. When you're in somebody's hometown, it's always tough. But he had a great dunk. You have to admit, if anybody's going to beat me, I'd rather have it be him.
Man, I played against some of the most hard-nosed, talented players that ever played this game. He was a phenomenon, and he had attitude to go with it. When you played against Mike, his eyes were bloodshot red every game, like he was possessed.
That's not a loser making excuses. That's one of the greatest competitors the sport has ever seen, looking across the court at the one man capable of matching him and giving him his due. The debate never got settled. It probably never will. And after 2 contests, the scoreboard between them was as even as it could be. 1985, Wilkins. 1988, Jordan. 1 apiece. But picking a winner was never really the point. Michael Jordan had rivals tied to championships, rivals tied to playoff heartbreak, rivals built on years of physical, bitter basketball. Dominique Wilkins was none of that. This wasn't hatred. It wasn't a championship series. It wasn't even really about who won the dunk contest. It was about response. Wilkins did something spectacular. Jordan wanted to answer it. Jordan raised the stakes. Wilkins came right back. And somehow, an ordinary Tuesday night in December could turn into something people would still be talking about 40 years later. That's why Dominique Wilkins deserves to be remembered as more than a name in Michael Jordan's highlight reel. He was a scoring champion, a 9-time All-Star, one of the greatest dunkers the game has ever produced, and one of the only players alive with the athletic gift, the scoring power, and the sheer nerve to look across the court at Michael Jordan and give the show right back to him. For fans watching in the 1980s, that meant anything could happen on any given night. A windmill, a reverse, a 60-point outburst, a dunk that would end up on highlight tapes for the rest of basketball history. The 1985 and 1988 contests gave this rivalry its most iconic images. But they were never the whole story. They were just the clearest symbol of it. Wilkins struck first, Jordan answered, and neither man ever fully settled the argument. Of all the guys I play against, there's one who definitely makes me rise to the occasion. There were players Michael Jordan had to beat. There were players he wanted to prove himself against. And then there was Dominique Wilkins, the human highlight film who, in Jordan's own words, made him rise to the occasion.